Today, I am joined by our very own Sameer Hilal, the COO and co-founder of vCom Solutions. Sameer has worked in technology management and software development for more than 25 years, and his experience and tried and true leadership has allowed vCom to grow into the company it is today. It truly is an honor to work for him.
Work with him.
Aha, I like that. We'll keep that all in there.
That sounds
Sameer,
good. Thank you for having me.
we'll be talking about a very specific topic today, which I'm excited to talk about. But first, let's dive into you just a little bit, just for context for everyone listening. Obviously, I introduced you, but I don't think I did you as justice as you would. So why don't you introduce yourself?
You did great.
Your way.
So prior to starting vCom, I worked in IT. I had stumbled upon IT, probably like many IT professionals, where you're good at computers and you happen to be in a job. And for me, I was changing careers from wanting to go into medicine to something that I was good at. And there was a need and an opening. And I ended up getting into IT. I was working at UCSF. And then eventually got really found a knack for engineering and helping organizations with their IT needs, and ultimately found my way to a systems integrator where I met my soon-to-be business partners, Gary Storm and Joe Condi. And in 2001, we co-founded vCom. And the rest is history.
Yeah. And obviously, you kind of did a really consolidated version of your life story leading up to IT. But for everyone listening, I promise you, it is a fascinating... Sameer is definitely underplaying and himself in a modest, humble way. But the way he got to where he got was incredible. And I could listen to him talk about it all day. Well, it's a funny saying almost. Tech is sexy, but sometimes IT isn't. Considered that way, and the more I talk about it, the more I realize that that's wrong. Tech IT is moving faster than ever before, and now we're facing something. There's been disruptive technology over the last forever.
Yes,
fire was a disruptive technology, the iPhone, Google, the internet. But now we're looking at something that everybody's talking about that can be really confusing: AI. More specifically, generative AI. But the concept of AI is now more popular than ever. From your point of view, kind of describe your relationship with AI, the way you grew into it and what you know about AI, and kind of describe that.
Well, I am by no means an AI expert. I am an early learner and dabbler. Obviously, AI has been in some forms growing and expanding, with machine learning having been around for quite some time, and now deep learning and language models, especially post Chat GPT and OpenAI coming out, releasing Chat GPT to the public, and the proliferation with integration into products like 365, Microsoft 365, and search engines, and all the effort that's being put forth by practically every large organization to figure out how can they leverage artificial intelligence, especially generative artificial intelligence, to their benefit. My 17-year-old son loves AI, and he has been doing research and work on it for the last couple of years. And so I get to learn from him and watch his growth journey. And at some point, he's going to become more of an expert, certainly. But it's been a very exciting journey to watch over the course of the last couple of years, because the energy is certainly reminiscent of the same energy that was there around iPhone, and particularly the App Store and the explosion of apps in the late 2000s. And before that, the .com era, which you're probably too young to remember, watching the internet and websites and search engines, and everybody jumping on that bandwagon. So it's really cool to be on this wave and riding this wave to try to make sense of it.
I was born before Google was huge, but I wasn't old enough to understand how revolutionary not having
Yes.
to go to the library to get all your information was.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
with all of those, I remember when the iPhone came out and it was, there was a lot of people who were pro, this is going to change everything. And there were people who were like, this is dumb. This is ridiculous. And now you almost
Yes.
can't live without a smartphone. AI
Correct.
has that same sort of energy, right? So there's
Yes.
this kind of a two-pronged question here. And the first is, what excites you about the potential of generative AI in general, not just for the business, but for us as humans in general?
Well, I would say that just the possibilities, the things that we haven't even thought about in terms of applications, the ways that AI can help us go from dealing with the mundane tasks to really dealing with something that is really meaningful. I would say, in some ways, we've already started to see some of that with. AI applications and AI assistants helping people with writing, helping people with summarizing content, helping people with scheduling and optimizing their calendars. That's just really barely scratching the surface. I can't even imagine the types of applications that are going to be coming down the pipe with respect to ways that AI can help us become more efficient, communicate with each other more effectively, do our jobs more effectively, and grow. And not to mention all the applications outside of just day to day business, like the impact on medicine, the impact on areas where research and development, pharmaceuticals, things of that nature that can potentially impact humanity.
No, exactly. The potential is huge, undeniably. Let's enter AI as kind of scary camp for a little bit too.
Yeah.
And what are your concerns? Just as there were concerns with the iPhone when it first came out, concerns with .com, with internet. What are some of the potential concerns you see with AI in its early stages and beyond?
I would say anytime you have a new technology, you have to, one, make sure that you are evaluating what are the potential benefits, but also what are the potential pitfalls associated with that technology, and how do you ensure that whatever you're putting in place to be able to manage those pitfalls, you're doing it responsibly and in a way that's not going to stifle innovation, but at the same time, you're doing it in such a way that is protected. From my perspective, I would say the one area that concerns me the most is around AI being used by individuals who are not using it for entrepreneurial methods or for creative ways to help businesses or help humanity, but using it for malicious purposes to take advantage of individuals, especially elderly, or be able to create ways to take advantage of people. So that would be my only concern. How do you make sure that and that's going to happen, no different than what happens with the internet, what happens with fraud around just the internet as it was growing in the late 90s, early 2000s. So there are regulatory bodies that could potentially get formed. There are organizations that could establish oversight. And it's important to evaluate that, do it in a responsible way, again, in such a manner so that you're not stifling innovation and preventing us from being able to really get AI to the level where it can really help us.
And it's kind of the name of IT also, right? Where
We
want to make sure it's protected and secure, but we don't want to be the bad guy and stifle innovation. So there's that balance of how can we encourage innovation in a safe, protected manner.
Correct.
Always the game we play. I guess not even just IT, just humanity in general.
Right. The other thing that I would say, with just like the internet, just like gave the rise to a lot of massive communications companies that had to build infrastructure and ultimately build, nowadays satellite-based technology to be able to access the internet with the likes of Viasat and Starlink and so on. All of anytime you have a new technology, you have the opportunity to have an upgrade of skills, and not just a knowledge worker who is in the office, but also the the worker who is implementing those technologies. So whether you talk about AI, whether you talk about robotics, I see an opportunity for people to learn new skills and expand their knowledge. And I would say it's critical for our educational system to embrace that in such a way so that we are really starting early and taking advantage of this wave, and making sure that we are preparing the next generation of workers to be able to empower this next economy.
No, I appreciate you saying that, because a general fear that people have about AI, and this is literally every single technological
Yes,
advance, is it's going to steal or take away jobs
that's
from
right.
people.
Job
And
displacement.
that
Yeah,
and that is a reality. I'm not going to deny that that won't happen. But like you said, it also creates more jobs that we could not have dreamt about 10 years ago because that
right,
didn't exist. And
right,
so where there is job displacement, there also becomes new opportunity to pursue a different sort of
right.
career as well. And so,
Well, there's already jobs that have been created that didn't exist even 5 years ago, with prompt engineers
yeah,
and fine tuning engineers and generative AI specialists who are learning how to compare the various
right.
LLMs or customize LLMs for particular purposes. I imagine that again. This is another area where we're just scratching the surface in terms of opportunities and new things that would be created that didn't exist 5, 10 years ago.
Well, let's go specific. What role do you
Yes.
see AI playing in IT spend management, IT lifecycle management?
I would say that one of the critical pieces of IT spend management is really providing organizations visibility into their IT spend, into their IT environment. And as we tie it back to where we started the conversation with how crazy IT is and expansive it is, with where companies are spending their money and all the different applications and all the capex that has turned into opex on a monthly basis, I would say IT organizations are stretched far more than ever before, and they have less and less time and more demand on them to be able to effectively execute for their organizations. And with that comes the need for tools that not just put the information in front of you in a report, but allow you to be able to effectively interact with the data in a way that enables you to get your job done faster and more accurately. So I see IT spend management organizations adopting AI and leveraging AI to be able to spot trends, provide information to IT managers or finance managers more effectively and more quickly, be
Mm.
able to interact. So it's really around the speed with which you provide data, and ultimately shifting from being reactive to being proactive.
Some follow up there. And we're going to talk about this internally as vCom, and then also something that we've released externally.
Yeah.
I use AI pretty regularly. It really helps to kind of give me ideas, to help me summarize podcasts that are 50 minutes long, to be able to say, hey, what are some key points here, and take from that.
Yes.
And it's definitely been a game changer in terms of efficiency. I'm curious, how are you and the rest of vCom or your team leveraging AI internally to kind of improve your processes or workflow?
Like everybody else, we started with leveraging some of the tools that are integrated through Microsoft 365 or through web browsing, and then started to potentially expand beyond that to leverage tools for being that tie into, for example, online meetings. So our head of customer success has been trialing an application that allows us to be able to leverage AI to take meeting notes during a Zoom call, and being able to go beyond just summarizing the action items and who owns each action items, to be able to actually spot certain risk
Yeah.
comments and certain trends that potentially allow us to be able to proactively manage a customer relationship and ensure that we are staying on top of it. So I'll put in a plug for Kirsten, who's our VP of Customer Success, for her foresight to look at tools that allow us to be able to be more customer centric and customer focused. So I would say we're looking at all of these types of tools that allow us to be more efficient in how we support our customers more effectively, and looking at our own, not just customer facing tools, as we'll talk in a moment, but internally, how do we gain access to data more effectively and be able to stay on top of trends so that we can run our business more.
And I love that, because it's despite the technology evolution of AI, it's still customer first. How can we use technology to serve customers?
As a leader, I would say the main tenets that you have to keep in mind are: how do I make my employees more efficient so that they can effectively execute for my customers? How do I deliver more value for my customers leveraging these technologies? How do I gain more insights about my own business leveraging these new tools in order for me to be able to run a better business that will ultimately provide for my customers and provide for my employees? So it's a multifaceted approach that you have to think about on an ongoing basis, regardless of the tool. And certainly AI plays an important role as the next frontier.
And, as we both hinted, we aren't just utilizing AI internally, but
Yes.
we've actually are implementing AI to be customer facing. And so kind of talk about the genesis of that, what it
Yes.
is, and what are its current capabilities.
If you rewind the clock, I would say from day one, we have been really trying to focus on how do we empower our customers with the best tools for the job and the tools that allow them to be able to be as effective as possible. So back in 2009, when vManager was only a couple of years old, we launched RPA, robotic process automation, that enables customers to communicate with us effectively and make sure that all of the communications were centrally stored. All the emails were centrally stored in the appropriate order, in the appropriate ticket. We had robotic process automation for notifying them about invoices being loaded, notifying them about certain milestones in terms of their orders when somebody populated their order with a new order confirmation date. The system automatically notified them. So we've always been about getting information in front of our customers as effectively as we can. We were one of the first companies to launch a mobile app on your iPhone or on your Android device, so that you have, when you're on the road, and if you're an IT person who was on vacation or traveling to a specific location and somebody was to call you and you don't have access to a laptop, you could fire off your vManager mobile app and be able to have access to the inventory, being able to open up a trouble ticket or respond to an order right from your mobile phone. So our approach when generative AI and the generative AI quote unquote revolution started was to really sit down and say, how can we leverage this to benefit our customers as effectively as possible? And the first area that we immediately thought about is what I mentioned, which is we have a system that is very rich with over 100 different reports. And of course, our customers can log in and go to their favorite reports or to new reports that we have published and analyze data and look for information within that data. But man, these guys and gals are running around with very little time to spare. So are they really going to have time to go and look for that data? How can we potentially give them an interface or a tool that allows them to be able to, with a quick couple of words, interact with the system? So we launched the ability to start with vChat beta, which we launched last November. We launched the capability for them to start interacting and querying the platform for information about their assets. This last week, we just released the ability for them to inquire about vendor intervals and being able to say, how long does it take to install an AT&T circuit, or who's the provider that has the least amount of time to install a voice circuit or an internet circuit, or what is the order interval for a change order on this type of service from this carrier. So really very quickly ask very quick question and have the system be able to respond, rather than you having to fish around for information or try to remember, where's this piece of data, where's this module where I can go and find the intervals or ask questions about my data. Where we see that developing over the coming weeks and months is enabling that functionality across the entire platform, so that you could ask questions about your orders, ask questions about your trouble tickets, ask question about your invoices and your spend. So if you, for example, want to find out, okay, give me a list of all my lines that have had mobile lines that have had zero usage over the course of the last 90 days. You could ask that question very easily. You don't have to go and dig for that report and try to find it. It's really around ease of use and saving the customers time while putting the important information that they want right at their fingertips.
I'm curious. How do you train it to know that data and those answers, and how to search for those things itself?
Yes. It's been a learning experience. It's been a long learning experience. We had to learn how to interact with the language model as the language model was evolving. And we started with Chat GPT. We are in the process of testing other language models to try to see what is the language model that best fits our needs based on the type of data that we have and the types of questions that customers are going to be asking. And it was a very steep learning curve at the beginning. And we eventually started to see light at the end of that tunnel. And we are excited about where we're headed and some of the milestones that we have been able to achieve, especially in the past few months.
I think the name of the game of AI, at least now, is efficiency, right? It turns tasks that take a long time into no time at all, meaning you can do other more important things.
Correct.
What happens when, especially in this early stages of vChat, what happens when a customer asks a question that it is not equipped to answer, but it's an important question that we would want it to answer later? How do you track that and learn?
Yeah, I mean, we're recording those questions, and we have engineers that are monitoring the types of questions that the system is not able to answer, so that we could see, oh, this question keeps coming up with at least some frequency. We've got to figure out how to provide that data. We are just earlier today, I was talking to one of our engineers about how do we potentially make the system a little bit smarter in terms of asking more questions and probing the customer, almost like a regular conversation that you and I would have, to try to narrow the scope of what the customer really is looking for. If you start with a generic question like, give me the lines that have had no usage. Well, you have circuits, you have local lines, you have SIP trunks, you have mobile lines. Which lines are you really talking about? That could be a very large query that would be very hard for potentially the language model and the engine, the AI engine that's behind it, that's trying to gather that data, and that could potentially cause a failure or take time. Versus if you narrow it and you say, oh, no, I'm just interested in my mobile lines. Okay, well, that's much easier to be able to go and gather. So how do you, it's like training a kid. You haven't had kids, but I've had kids, and any of your listeners who have had kids remember that when you're trying to train your kid to ask questions that are more specific rather than being generic. When your kid is first growing up, they just cry. Eventually, they say, "I'm tired," or "I'm hungry," or "I'm
Mm,
thirsty." So,
yeah,
how do you
yeah, yeah,
train
yeah.
the AI engine to be able to, in a similar way, have a dialogue and ask questions and present data in a specific way? Because you're talking about a language model and you have control over a variable called temperature, where if you're not very careful about how to limit hallucinations, AI will get very creative. And if it doesn't know the answer, rather than responding with "I don't know the answer," it will give you a fictitious answer. So you'll ask it, how many mobile phones do I have? And if it's not trained effectively and doesn't know the answer, it might say, "You have 32 bananas," or make up something. Not
Well,
quite that way, but it'll get creative in terms of its response.
okay, so let's bring up that fear then. Being able to utilize vChat requires the user to trust that it will give reliable data back. How
Correct.
do you, one, ensure that it is giving the correct data? And two, if it doesn't, how do you correct that so it doesn't give,
Yes.
let's say you ask how many mobile devices you have and it gives the incorrect number.
Right.
That would be the last thing you want, because then it would defeat the purpose of AI. So
Correct. So we still have a little disclaimer. We still have our beta mark on our vChat. I would say the three areas that we have been focusing on, and it has taken quite a bit of rewriting of code. And part of why we're also exploring other language models is to really make sure that we're focusing on performance and making sure that we're responding to the user in a timely manner. Two, we're focusing on accuracy and putting validations in place to verify that the system is providing accurate data. And then ensuring that the system is as comprehensive in its response as possible and as scalable over time. So those have been key areas where we have focused and really tried to ensure that we use as guiding principles, which is part of why we didn't come out of the gate and say, "Let's just open this against all of our modules." We started very focused with our assets. We just recently launched, as I mentioned, the vendor intervals. And then as we have gained more confidence in the quality of the data, the speed of responses, and scalability and performance of the system as a whole, we're starting to open up other modules. But we're continuing to leverage RPA, surprisingly, to evaluate the responses from the AI versus the responses in the system to verify that the data is accurate before we say, "Okay, we've given it our stamp of approval. Let's remove that beta stamp and open the kimono."
So it's a lot of quality assurance. It's just QA, QA, QA.
Right now,
Just
there's a ton of
checking,
QA,
checking.
ton of
Yeah, yeah.
validation to make sure that we're really answering the customer's question and we're really providing them the accurate information, and we're really providing that as quickly and efficiently as possible.
I think AI was always a natural course of action for vCom because, like you said, vCom is always about providing more time, money, and information to customers, to IT professionals, so that they can use that to pursue other endeavors, other strategic initiatives. You mentioned a little, introducing AI to all of our modules. One, first,
Yes.
explain what what do you mean when you say modules?
When you log into vManager, you have the 9 modules that we present to a customer outside of the admin module and their dashboard. You have our design module, sourcing, and contract management, which falls under the umbrella of planning and procurement. Then under operations management, we have order management, asset management, and service and support. And then under expense management, we have invoice management, accounting, and analytics. And you could say we started with asset management, a little bit of analytics, and a little bit of support. Our objective is to, in the not too distant future, in the next 180 to 365 days, is to enable AI to be able to search across the various modules. So instead of you having to go and, for example, and click on the searching module, go to Marketplace and say, and enter an address and say, I want to buy an internet circuit, and go through that typing to be able to very quickly say, what's the price for an internet circuit at 12657 Alcosta Boulevard in San Ramon, California? And just by quickly asking that, the system automatically goes and does the search and provides the information to you very quickly. Or I'm looking for a contract that I signed a few years ago for our internet circuit in our New York office. You don't have to go and search for that contract manually in the contract library. The system will automatically provide you that data. Or what is the service level agreement associated with the internet service that's provided by Lumen? The system will automatically go and find that contract document and read it and provide you the information. So those are just a couple of examples of how you could leverage AI to be able to go and get information for it. So that's the short to midterm vision.
Yeah. Do you got a long-term vision?
Absolutely. I would say today, and this is really not, from my perspective, it's not just looking at our interpretation of artificial intelligence, but I would say in general, where I see artificial intelligence evolving in the next level. I would say right now, artificial intelligence is, for the most part, very reactive. Yes, you could build appear it with RPA, robotic process automation, to be able to do some things for you on a regular basis or on a schedule of some sort. But for the most part, it's reactive, particularly generative AI, where you're asking a question, it's providing you for information. Where I really see the emphasis on the word intelligence is almost akin to saying, I went from having an administrative assistant to having an executive assistant, where an executive assistant is someone who knows you, knows your habits, and is proactively providing you with information that will help you do your job more effectively. So how do you potentially get to a level where the person does not have to wait for and go and ask for those lines that are, in the example that I gave you, show me my lines that have zero usage on them, where the system reaches out to you and says, hey, you have you have X number of lines that have had zero usage for the last 90 days. Would you like me to suspend those lines for a temporary? And then automatically, you don't have to process an order, automatically goes and creates an order and processes the order, provides you an update on the fact that that order was completed, and then would then proceed to ask you, would you like to have this treatment done proactively moving forward? Do you want to implement this policy on an ongoing basis so that it is intelligently behaving and helping you manage your business just as an employee that you would hire, whose sole job is to do this proactively, so that it frees you up to go and take care of your end users, take care of your customers, provide better value, versus log into the system, looking up an order, or even interacting with the system that's going to give you data. And then you have to swivel chair and go a different module and say, okay, now I want to create a bunch of disconnect orders. And the next time I got to do it, next month I got to do it again, and I got to do it again. So how do you potentially build the intelligence within the system, build the smarts within artificial intelligence?
Yeah, and it's so funny because AI is such a buzz phrase, a buzzword, if you will, but that is the idea of intelligence. It acts almost essentially on its own, because it knows what needs to be done. Instead of waiting for a prompt, it goes beyond that and knows what you want and provides that for you. It's kind of like Jarvis and Iron Man I guess
Right.
the later stages of Jarvis.
Correct.
Exactly
And then,
like
and
that.
then do you take that to even the next level, which is um, you anticipate a behavior for a specific type of organization based on
Ah,
understanding how
ah,
their peers behave. So
ah,
if you go into vManager today, we built a community intelligence module or report uh, section under our analytics, where we show for organizations what is the average business person spending on their mobile phones, what is the average, how much data are they using, what is the average internet circuit and bandwidth that people are spending. This is collecting data from our database of customers and providing it as community intelligence. Can you potentially over time say, not only did we make it customized for a specific industry vertical like law firms or accounting firms or manufacturing or biopharma, but can you go to the next step where I know that biopharmas behave this way and
yeah.
interact with the data this way, and this new customer happens to be an IT manager or IT director for a biopharma, I'm going to present data to them that is unique and customized to that industry. That's real intelligence form.
No,
That's
yeah.
the next holy grail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're about at time. But I kind of wanted to provide my own thoughts, some context, and then also one more question for you. More is expected of IT than ever before. You are no longer behind the curtains. You are essential to making sure companies succeed. But suddenly, you have to buy AI. You have to buy cybersecurity. You have to invest in all of these things, but you still need circuits to run it. You still need mobile devices. You still need SaaS products to be able to communicate, et cetera, et cetera. And it only grows and grows and grows. I read something the other day that it's important to have a good idea of your inventory and good analytics, not just to be able to reduce your spend, but to actually make those decisions at all. You make pretty poor sourcing decisions when you don't have the correct data to know what you need or you don't need. And we always say that it's complex, but really to me, it's beautifully simple in the sense that you need to understand your IT environment holistically from the moment you buy to the moment you pay the invoice, because you need the data from your environment, your assets, the data from your invoices to know then, okay, what budget do I have so I can buy something next? And so it doesn't stop from the moment you buy the circuit or the device. You also need to manage how it's implemented, manage its inventory, manage its tickets, and manage its payment, and then use the data from that to buy something better in the future. And this is why Sameer and I have talked about AI this whole time and why we've talked about saving more time, because the idea is you don't get more time in the day, but more is asked of you. So how can we save you more time so you can do the other things that IT needs to do? Every IT team needs to ensure that they have the time, money, and resources to be able to make decisions to make their company succeed.
Well said, Jethro. You don't have to just choose vCom. Go and talk to any of our peers in the market who are building IT spend management platforms. Go and explore various options, various solutions for managing mobile, network, cloud, SaaS. The takeaway is don't just try to manage IT the same old way, using spreadsheets and emails and file folders. I mean, it does not work. And without having the subject matter expertise, do something. The status quo does not work. Just do something. Even if you don't choose vCom, as long as you're leveraging the right tools and the right subject matter experts, that's what matters. Then you're being responsible for your organization and its resources.
And we can say that it's better for the company, that there's a better way to manage IT, but it also makes you look like a hero.
100%.
Is there any final thought or closing remarks you want there?
That was a great closing. I would say I'm excited about the new frontier, excited about learning. I would urge everybody in IT to be brave, ask questions of their vendors, ask about what their AI strategy is, what their tools are, and try to learn as much as you can. This is an exciting time, exciting field to be in, and Looking forward to talking to more customers and more vendors and more partners and learning from them so that we can continue to make our solution more relevant and better for our customers.
Well, Sameer, thank you so much for
Thank you for having me.
This
Really
was an awesome
appreciate it, Jethro.
conversation.
Likewise.
Yeah, I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to see. I love how you said I don't work for you, I work with you, and I'm
That's
excited
right.
to continue
That's
working
right.
with you and seeing how we can continue to make the lives of IT even easier moving forward.
Amen. All right. Thanks, Jethro.
Take care.
You too.
Yeah, bye-bye.